Listen up, Gotham.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Hiya, Buttons. It's me, Harley Quinn.
This is Batman.
This is Robin.
Tune into the Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast with Sammy Warm Hands.
With Sammy Warm Hands.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast. Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
Although, Sam, you might think about changing the name.
Hey everybody, it's the Dark Knight of Rap, Sammy Warm Hands, and this is the Bat Fan Addict Podcast. As always, I'll be joined by my co-hosts Ben and Evan, and we'd like to shout out our friend the Nando Knight at TNK Comics and Collectibles, our Season 3 sponsor. You can follow on shortboxed.com or on Instagram for claim sales at the Nando Knight. That's K-N-I-G-H-T. All right? Now, today we're returning to an artist we haven't talked about since month 1 of season 1 of this show in 2019. One of my all-time favorites and one who I'm waiting for a sketch from as we speak. This is Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo, Joker. Here's something for you. It's episode 69.
69.
This is Joker from 2008, written by Brian Azzarello, penciled by Lee Bermejo, inked by Lee Bermejo and Mick Gray, colored by Patricia Mulvihill, and lettered by Robert Clark. Is this both of your first time reading this?
Yeah.
I read this like a year or two ago.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
I found this brand new in 2008 when it came out. I was just, as I've talked about, getting back into comics after Begins, but especially with The Dark Knight, picking up Hush for the first time and Dark Victory and, you know, like a little more than just the first couple ones you get, you know. And this came out and I saw that cover and was just like really drawn to it. Like, oh, wow, this is Ledger, but like gnarly as fuck.
Yeah.
Years and years later, I heard Lee give an interview on the Bat Force podcast. He was asked about, like, did they give you the Ledger model? And, like, you know, because this came out, I think, 4 or 5 months after that movie, something like that. And he goes, no, I turned in the book first, and they sat on it. And then the movie comes out, and it looks like my design, and then the book comes out after that, and he's like, I have no idea if they've seen it or not. I'm paraphrasing from something that I listened to a long time ago, so I could be getting that a bit wrong. But what I interpreted was even he kind of wondered, did the filmmakers or anybody see? Because I know that Heath Ledger did his own makeup. He came up with his own kind of look to an extent. But
Yeah.
When we read Noel.
Oh, yeah, we saw a glimpse of him in that.
Yeah, we see that style, and to me, it was more like, oh, yeah, it's just the Heath Ledger Joker. Reading this again and looking at it.
It was definitely not.
Yeah, it's fairly different. It's the big mouth scars are kind of what makes you think that, and the kind of the slovenly hair, but it's its own unique thing.
Absolutely. This is not Azzarello's first collaboration with Bermejo. I recently became aware of Luthor, Man of Steel, which is another villain standalone story like this prior to it. I haven't read it yet because I want to find a nice hardcover of it. But I also learned just in prepping for this that they have an even earlier title together that's Batman and Deathblow, who I don't even know who that is. That's from like the early 2000s.
The guy who has a gun.
Oh, the guy with the gun. The Punisher.
Isn't
DC's version of the
Deathblow and Deathstrike like the same dude?
And Bloodsport.
Deathblow.
But anyway, 2 prior DC books together.
To this day, even though I know it's not what it is, I always think in my head first, oh yeah, the skilled artist, Lieber Mayho. Mr. Mayho.
I still will never forget when I went to, well, I won't even say, I went to a comic shop and the guy goes, oh yeah, we got that new Bermejo that you like. And I was like, I was genuinely like, what? I had no fucking idea what he said.
How do you know I like Bermejo?
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I got that new Bermejo variant. I know you like those. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Oh, fuck. Okay, yeah, right. Got it. Cool. Yeah, I do like those. Anyway, it's worth noting that this book, which is sort of a Joker meets Sin City kind of vibe, was intended back in 2008 as the catalyst for what we now know as DC Black Label. Though it didn't officially launch until the sequel to this book, Batman Damned, 10 years later. Either way you look at it, we have Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo to thank for all these creator-driven, standalone titles on DC Black Label that we've enjoyed on this show and beyond. But it's really been a fucking blessing for me as a reader.
Contains stories where they're not beholden to whatever the current canon or event or whatever is.
Yeah.
But they still can kind of pick and choose what they want to pull from it without being
Fucking
like...
kill Alfred, I'll bring Alfred back, motherfucker.
Or actually, you know, when the Reverse Flash rewrote the thing, and so now Batman's in Metropolis.
In my version, it's set in the 1800s, and Jack the Ripper is there.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That sounds weird.
I also have one that's set in the 70s, and Zodiac Killer is there. It's pretty interesting. Now, hear me out. There's one set in 2016, and Lex Luthor is president. Oh, wait, no. That happened in Hush. Never mind.
I have this one where Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor.
Whoa.
And some people are like, that's a good choice.
It's kind of like when they started drawing Nick Fury based on Sam Jackson, and then Sam Jackson got cast. So maybe you can get Jesse Eisenberg cast as Lex Luthor in the future.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Do you think Zack Snyder would make a DC movie? Because I think he would be down for a casting like that.
He wouldn't be able to handle the studio interference if I have to. I feel like it would be
That's a fair
bad
point.
mix.
He really needs control to do his own thing. Yeah. The book opens with an aerial view of Gotham and narration that says, the news spread all over town like a disease. And we see some henchmen in a titty bar saying, someone needs to pick him up. And only one man volunteers, Johnny Frost, which is not a name I love. I'm just going to say that right now. Johnny, our narrator, then parks in front of Arkham Asylum and says he's still not sure why, says to the reader, but for some reason, the Joker was released from Arkham Asylum. And this first full-page panel, splash page, in front of the gate is amazing. And somewhere I have a framed poster of it because it's fucking awesome. And already I think my first impression of the book was like, oh shit, this is really unique. Like I never seen anything that looked quite like this 15 years ago.
I think we read Noel before I read Joker.
Yeah, that was like our third episode.
Yeah, that was early.
It's fantastic art-wise, but I actually like his work more with like flat colors versus painted. I just like his lines more.
You like this
That's
traditional...
exactly-
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it's also because of the
this is his
colors
like
in that, but-
comic book version of his stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's tight that he has different versions of his own art. This is like the penciled and inked version of his art versus his like paintings.
Well, and it's odd to me. Like we've had many different flavors of Lee Bermejo artwork because you talk about Noelle had like, what was her name? Barbara Chardello or something like that. She did the coloring in that, which was a wholly unique thing from this, right? And then we also looked at Dear Detective, that was all the covers that he's been doing, which are wholly him from start to finish, and they're just fucking mesmerizing. They're insane. And then something like this is completely different because it's got all his signature grit, but you're right, it is very flat pencils and inks.
Yeah.
And then you'll see like one panel here and there that's over rendered and it's a little more realistic or something mixed in.
The guys in the bar specifically is the scene I'm talking about. That actually every scene in the bar when it's not being destroyed, when it's just like showing active nightlife or whatever, is that because the colors are all bright and interesting like that.
Yeah.
And then the first shot of the Joker to me is like what you're talking about, where like now it looks a little more like those more complexly colored works of his that we look at.
Yeah.
Because there's more
this looks-
shadow or something.
Those are the
it
ones
looks
that grab me the
textural and
most.
gritty.
Yeah.
It is cool though how he picks and chooses when to bust out his other style though. In the very next page, the top panel is a painting and then all the rest of it is his normal stuff.
And I was just showing Evan, this is the sequel to this book, Batman Damned, picks up immediately where this one ends, but it's, again, 10 years in the future that they made this project, so his art style is so much more advanced. I'm reasonably sure that he does everything in there. I don't think there's another colorist.
I just saw 2 names.
Or an inker in this.
Yeah,
So this is more like his baby, his real shit. But yeah, it's much different than...
And that's not to detract from it. I just really like his pencils with flat colors.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about on the last episode with Mignola being like, okay, this is a different point in his evolution too. So I think it's, for me, having read this a bunch, but not in a few years, it was really cool to go back and see like him at this stage in the late 2000s. Joker walks out of Arkham, gives the finger, and here I wonder, is Ben worried? Strip clubs and flipping the bird, is this edgelord Joker?
I will tell you the first time I read this, and partially it was one of those times where I must have just been in a mood, so whatever in my life I was
this
being...
stupid fucking thing, I'll read you.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Because by the time I got to the end, I was like, I left with this feeling of, is this glorifying somebody like this?
Right.
Like,
is this going to make Sam dress up as him?
well, and maybe partially that was that because I was coming off of just everyone else's hype about it. Of like, I'm not like super dialed into the comics community, but like you hear like, oh, that's the one or that's the book or things like that.
Right.
And so I'm like, it's just like a fucking horrible person. I hate this guy. So kind of, yes, the first time. But then this time, for whatever reason, I was just in a better place to like take it in. And no.
I don't think they try to make him cool. I think, if anything...
That cover tries to make him look cool.
Sure. The visuals, yeah. But I think the story as a whole, not to get way ahead of ourselves, there is a bit of a moral to the story. It's a cautionary tale. You know, our narrator, as we're about to see, really looks up to this guy,
Yeah.
and does glorify him and romanticize the myth of the Joker, There's definitely a lesson in that if you're willing to hear it,
But also, I think the way his violence is portrayed in this is not cool.
No,
so that's why
it's shocking. And
having already known that this time, nothing about this to me is like the edgelordy.
Good.
He just seems like a really
Good.
piece of shit.
Johnny offers his gun as a car tails them from a distance. Eventually, they lose the tail and stop at Killer Croc's poker game. There's a great shot when he approaches the steel door, and they open the little eye slot and ask who it is. He says, Joe. They say, Joe who? And all we see is from the inside, looking out through the slot, that nasty Joker smile.
He does a really good job with these gross teeth.
Yes.
While still looking real, unlike some of those Jokers we see,
Yeah.
like
Tim Sale, Long
no
Halloween.
one could have teeth like that or that many teeth.
Yeah. Not even sharks
These
have
are
that
5
many
inches
teeth in their
long.
mouth.
Yeah. Joker says that he likes coming around because Croc makes him feel handsome, and they have a laugh. Joker pulls out his empty pockets to show how broke he is, saying he needs some startup money. Croc sympathizes, saying that it's almost disrespectful no one took care of him when he was away. And from a distance, our narrator Johnny concurs. No respect. Amen, brother. He continues now talking to the reader, saying that he always knew he'd be part of something important, and that someday we'd all know his name.
He does a really good job with different expressions. Like Joker's face when he's emptying out his pockets.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's using some photo reference.
You're saying he's a cheater like Alex Ross?
Oh my God.
Mike
no.
Mayhew?
Yeah, these guys suck. I could do this if I had ever seen a picture in my life, but I just, we're not allowed.
If I'd ever held a pencil and looked at a
We do
photograph.
review comic books, but Ben is blind, just so you know. These are Braille editions, specifically.
I have a thing where just like a terrible AI voice describes the visuals.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in a bad mood.
How about
Color
some rabbit?
is
I
I didn't understand that joke.
didn't either.
the rabbit ears are his empty pockets sticking out.
Okay. Did you have to look that up? How did you know that?
Sorry, I thought with your superior intellect that
I would think that
you
too.
would
That's
get
why
the
I'm
visual
upset.
gag, Back at the strip club, Joker has a welcome home party with the whole entourage, Johnny, Croc, and all their goons. She never speaks, but there's a striking blonde woman in the foreground wearing a plunging neckline that shows everything but nips.
Another panel that, again, why I like to see his artwork with this 2D colors, because just that, like, it stands out. It reminds me of, I don't know who was responsible
The
for it.
areolas stand out.
But you don't see any areola. I would
just
have
joking.
noticed that. Eon Flux, whoever was like the lead animator or character designer. But also what I see in this, and Evan, you will get it or not. Sam, you won't.
Thank you.
Later, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, once his style solidified.
Yeah.
I see a lot of that in this.
Yeah.
Things are kind of overly exaggerated, like proportions, but not so much so that they look completely abstract.
Yep.
But like long chins and noses and hair that kind of goes out weirdly.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff, like everybody's head seems a little too big in this, and everybody seems they're drawn in a way that's exaggerated. It's not so far as a caricature, like they don't kind of look like they're smiling. They really look like they're smiling.
Yeah.
Like it's a big ass smile. I'm not confused about what's going on with their face.
And it's extremely realistically depicted, just exaggerated.
Yeah.
And that's something that I just smile and nod through you guys talking about. Because like I don't really know, for as much as we talk about art, I couldn't quite pinpoint what is the difference between an Alex Ross, a Warren Lau realism and a Lee Bermejo, because it has this gritty kind of distortion about it, but I don't really know. Like it is realism,
very
but it's
realistic,
not.
yeah.
So that's
I mean, Evan hits it on the head with a like caricature. It's not that far, but it's the same kind of idea. Like, what are all the elements you need to accurately depict this person? Not like a Simpsons character version, but like actually their features and everything, while still making it unreal.
Yeah.
sure. The woman I mentioned, we also see that her pants are red and black on opposite legs when she walks by. As they drink, she takes the stage and strips down to nothing before gradually dressing up as Harley in the jester suit. Almost a reverse striptease there. Meanwhile, Joker talks to his guy Monty and says, "We need to talk business." Joker asks Johnny for $1 and walks off with Monty. Shortly after, Monty gets pushed through the curtain on stage. He's been skinned from the neck down, and as he collapses, Joker slaps his ass with the $1. Harley stands beside him looking amused.
They must have made pretty quick work of that. I don't know how long it takes to skin a person, but this doesn't make it seem like it's
Good
very
point.
long.
Were they in like
It's a 3-minute song, you know.
a completely soundproof room in the back?
Yeah.
I wondered about that. Must be really loud.
Yeah, that sounds like a crazy blowjob.
She's my cherry pie. Just fucking really loud.
Super fun.
I mean, like, again, that like, this is gross,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is effective. I'm not the person who looks at Joker at any time and goes like, cool.
Well, yeah, but
definitely
like
not
the
this time.
first thing they show him do is like
Totally.
fucking barbaric.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't get a lot of that like musculature and stuff, and it's unnerving. And the only other thing that I can think of is the stuff where he's
Two-Face stuff.
It has his face just like his skin, is whatever that is, where you're seeing the muscles and stuff underneath.
Joker speaks now to the audience from the stage, saying he thought he left the city in capable hands, but those hands loosened their belts and took a shit on everything I've done. He asks who wants to help him take the city back. And again, Johnny answers the call. There's a look on his face of pure adoration here. Like he feels like teacher's pet to be able to be like, yes, I'll answer the call.
I do.
I just saw that man, that skinned man, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I
Cool,
want to
I
go
wanna
with
be
you.
part of
Yeah,
this.
there's no way that
Yeah.
could ever be me.
Elsewhere, the news continues to spread. Two-Face gets a phone call. He answers, yes, before saying, no. God, no. I love the simplicity of that scene because it's so effective and it's only, 3-4 syllables?
Yeah.
Johnny picks up Joker and Harley the next morning. He's nervous and visibly sweating, but blames it on the hangover. Joker offers him pills and booze to wash it down. They have a bit of a confrontation there. He's like, oh, you don't take pills? I fucking take
think
pills.
you're better than
whatever.
me?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, no, I can't take them dry, motherfucker. Anyway.
That's funny.
This characterization of Joker, I like because it reminds me of just like being in bars.
He's a bully.
Well, being around those people who are like joking and then, but not, but
Yeah.
now I'm joking again. It's like, God,
Tuco.
what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like really unsettling and a little bit jovial, but then really threatening.
Yeah. I think I want to go.
All of your jokes borderline on reality.
Yeah.
A flashback explains that Johnny vowed never to go back to prison, which cost him his marriage and his children. But now, he's thinking to himself he's the getaway driver for a bank robbery. Disappointed, Joker gets back into the car with a bag of cash. He laments that everything went smoothly and nobody died. It was so boring.
This Joker robbing a bank, that already seems like Dark Knight, even though they say there's no like
Sure.
overlap. And then also with that bag, the big duffel bag. Mm-hmm. That just seems like the imagery from the beginning of The Dark Knight.
Interesting. Yeah, this would have been made before that came out. He gives Johnny a bloody photo of a child, the bank president's daughter, apparently, who then throws it out the window as they drive away. Croc delivers Penguin for a meeting with Joker. He shows off the robbery money and asks for a quick investment. Penguin insults him, asking what makes him think he ever had control of Gotham. Joker holds up his arm, saying, "Feel my muscle." And goes, "No, not that muscle." And Croc puts Penguin in a fucking headlock. I love this shot. And just in general, like you were saying about this characterization, but just the way that he talks to people is so perfect Joker, because he's got him in this headlock for the rest of the conversation. He lets him go. Penguin is gasping for air. And Joker goes, "Please, you're scaring the fish." You know, like that's
Calm down. What's wrong with you?
that's very like Marini's Joker, you know.
His version of Penguin is one of my favorite. One of his takes on a character. I don't even know what I'm.
Character design?
Words are
Images
weird.
of a human
yeah,
ever.
Of the people that he draws in this comic book, I like the Penguin the most.
His name is Abner. That's weird.
Yeah, why is his name Abner?
Yeah, I looked that up too. It seemed to be other people asking about that.
Is that like a
Now I'm remembering
Clayface kind of thing?
There was a Reddit thread that led to an article, and I read half the article and got interrupted. And then now I'm remembering I need to finish reading that article before we record. This
depiction of Penguin, though, does border on a little bit my fears that I had at the beginning of Gotham by Gaslight, taking these iconic seminal characters and some of them turning them into, like Riddler in Long Halloween,
Yeah.
or those like turning them into punching bags and not formidable in their own right.
Yeah.
Which
Though I
it's-
never really thought that.
Yeah, but Penguin is
was
not
formidable.
physically. He's got muscle. They let him get out muscled here by Croc, but typically I think of Penguin as someone who's got a lot of
Well, why would he
guns around him.
Why would he show up to this scene alone? Like just like little things like that. It's like you're making him seem small to make the Joker seem bigger in a way that's a little like.
It's true, but
Sure.
that's also why I worded it as Croc delivers Penguin to this thing. Like, who knows how he got it? I don't know. But
Yeah.
that was not the normal, like, okay, we're meeting with my guys and you're meeting with your guys, you know.
Yeah. It's probably a kidnapping.
Johnny goes back to his apartment to pick up some essentials before crashing with the Joker full time, apparently. There's an undercover cop waiting inside who says, "You're running with the wrong crowd," and just ominously leaves without arresting him.
Same-
Kind of fucking with him.
Well, and same as the Joker, because it's not just the Joker. Tons of characters in this story are that obnoxious, like, do this. I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah.
Or am I? Like, they're all,
You got a permit for that gun?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
watch out.
Hilarious.
Johnny looks around and decides not to take anything after all.
Not even his prized Confederate flag.
Yeah, I made a note here that oddly I was fine reading about a violent criminal. You know, I'm not connecting to this guy or something. But when they panned around and showed the Confederate flag, I was like, oh, he's racist too? Like,
Why this choice?
Well, reading it this
Lee.
time, too, because I think that's what put me off, without spoiling the ending, the first time of just, like, this character's story. He says, like, he is a punching bag in literal and also metaphorical terms. Thinking, like, oh, this guy suffers and the Joker's cool. I don't know. But then, especially reading it this time, I'm like, no, this guy's a piece of shit also. So
Yeah.
I don't feel that bad. I mean,
yeah. Back in the car, Joker is outside an Italian restaurant. He tells Johnny to look out at the city and that he's out there watching. Inside, he meets with Tommy Bang Bang, making fun of his name, about taking back his territory. Tommy says, I was just keeping it warm for you, and offers some cash as a gesture. His cut, he says. Joker negotiates a way to keep collecting while Tommy's guys run the operation. Everyone leaves happy.
I just want to say, Joker eating shrimp is the grossest thing.
Yeah, seriously.
I like when the guy goes to shake his hand and he reaches his hand out and then grabs more shrimp.
One, that's disgusting. Two, I like this, I want what's mine back.
Yeah.
His face is hilarious.
That joke is really funny because it's in response to him, Tommy Bang Bang, going, wine? Like, would you like some wine?
Yeah.
And his answer is, to wine.
Yeah.
It's odd because this is like a very real serious Joker story, but he also does fuck around quite a bit.
I think it just plays into like...
It's not like so self-serious that he ceases to be the Joker character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Character appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. It makes, like, it's him, but also all of that just in contrast to making a funny joke and then killing somebody brutally. It like his pendulum swings pretty freaking far.
Yeah.
And so those things, those funny moments are just like, it's funny and it jovial or whatever, but it just shows how far he swings. That's, don't be fooled by that.
Yeah.
He's not that dude. He's not funny. That's going to come back around.
On the sidewalk, Joker says, I forgot to do something, and goes back inside, shooting Tommy twice. The lettering says bang bang by his face.
That's cute.
Mm-hmm. He says that Tommy's 10% is off the table, but the guys can still keep their 5%. Outside, he looks around as if he was just baiting Batman, and that was the only reason he tried to do it. But he can't seem to get the guy's attention. I thought that was great because it's a subtle beat and there's not really a lot said about it. But before the scene, it's like, he's out there and he's watching me. And then he goes in there and he's like, hey, everything went fine. And he goes back and shoots the guy and comes out and looks around again. I'm like, no, nothing. Okay.
That was lost on me until you just pointed this out.
Yeah, I like that bit.
That's who he was doing it for.
Yeah.
Because before,
like the guy treated him right. He had no reason to harm the guy.
Yeah.
Prior to going to the restaurant, he's talking about Batman being out there and stuff, and then does this thing apparently just to get his attention.
I think the edgelord version of this would be if none of that Batman context was in the scene and he walked out and went,
I forgot.
Well, that wasn't fun, and then goes and shoots the guy for no reason.
Grabs a couple more shrimp.
I will say this borders on Batman being an edgelord Batman because he lets a lot of people die.
I mean, it's never really explained where he is.
Sure. Oh, maybe it's just Joker's paranoia. Like, I know you're out there watching me, but he probably would be.
Well, I read that the way he talks about it a couple times throughout is that he's got this ego about him. He's got this like, oh, well, you need me and all that. Like that stuff that we've seen before. To me, it's his narcissism going, oh, he's going to like this, right? He's not even here. God damn, like.
But of course,
I'm doing all this for you.
Me.
You know? Yeah. What else would you be doing if not me giving you purpose? There's a 2-page montage of dead bodies across town, all mobsters. Johnny says, Joker likes to do it himself. And like Nicholson, thinks of himself as some kind of artist. Johnny says he's no artist himself, but likes being on this side of the danger, which is another just like, yeah, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
I'll also mention that if we're to take this as a trilogy, let's say.
A true story, right?
Joker, yes. No. Joker, Noel, and Damned. 2 are directly in sequence. 1 is Bermejo on its own, but like all 3 of those stories have a third-party nobody narrating the whole thing, and it's from their perspective. And to me, this is the most effective version of it, is the very first one, I think, is the best telling of it.
It sets the scale, right? Because when we spend so much time with Batman or with the villains, you start to get used to it.
Yeah.
So when you're seeing it more from like a more regular person, all this, I mean, because to spoil it, we don't see Batman until the very end.
Yeah.
So like to save him for that last scene makes him much more effective.
Yeah.
You really do feel like when's he going to show up? He's just hiding there.
Totally.
I think that stuffing a person in a barrel would be difficult.
Probably have to break the limbs.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun, I'm sure, for this fucking guy. You like how I recovered that? I'm like, for this guy. For this guy
Yeah.
specifically. I didn't mean...
Not me.
Okay.
Doesn't interest me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I've always thought that looked really fun for someone else.
How are you guys enjoying the new layout here? Is the more separation a little better?
I'd rather be close to Ben, but
You'd rather be
otherwise,
closer?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Can you get a nice big couch?
I thought it would be better.
Yeah,
No.
can we just have a
My
love
butt has
seat?
fallen asleep.
I had a love seat, and I suggested it to you guys, and you said, no, it's too small.
Yeah, 3-seater.
I was going to move the one from there to over here.
3-seater, so there's a 1 seat between us.
Well, you fucking go to Goodwill and find a fucking... Anyway.
Tell me to go to Goodwill.
There's a brief exchange with Johnny and Croc getting on each other's nerves, and then they accompany Joker to a meeting with Penguin. There's a great beat where Penguin says, take a seat. Joker looks around the room before setting his eyes on Penguin and says, I'll take yours. And he leans over the desk, gets right in his face, and says, get up. Breaking the sinister tone now with a laugh, he says, I'm just kidding.
I think we jumped past just the scene with Johnny going to get Croc.
Yeah, I kind of skimmed over that one.
The only reason that's important to me is because that's Johnny going, and now he's like, the way he says it to Croc, he's like, come on, we gotta go. And he's like, oh, I'm not done eating. He's like, no, you are done eating. And like goes to get the plate.
He's like anointed now by the Joker, he thinks.
And Croc picks him up and says, you think you're working? You think you're a worker? But you don't even understand.
Yeah.
And then like that's just the kind of
The first seed of doubt.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also when
I'm working.
you can feel the anxiety of Johnny, like, okay, I've been sent on this task, and I got to take him right now because boss wants him now. And he's going, fuck you, I'm not going now. I'm not doing what you say, you little bitch. And then they show up late.
Yeah.
Joker's like, oh, you're fucking late, huh? And Croc's like, is that a problem? Like, no, I just got here myself, right? Which comes back later because Johnny at the time is like real nervous. He's got to get to school on time, or he's going to get in trouble. And then it doesn't happen. And so it kind of diffuses it, and we don't think about it for a while. But this scene about, like, take a seat and, like, get up, give me yours, this is what David Ayer and Jared Leto got right, which there's not a lot.
In Training Day?
Yes.
Training Day has that throughout the whole movie.
For sure.
Like, hey, dude, I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Smoke this.
But in Suicide Squad, there's two scenes. There's the one scene with Common in the nightclub, like, oh, you like my girl or whatever, and then brings over, and then he's like, wait, what the fuck are you, what are you trying to do? But the best version of that is with Ike Barinholtz, who is the hostage in this situation where they're in the back room and, like, you fucking sit there, and the boss is coming in, and he's being all eccentric and making his weird cat sounds and stuff. He's doing his thing. But he's in kind of the Bane, like, rest his hand on his shoulder and like, do you feel in charge? He has that sort of almost like a delicate threat of violence in this expert manipulation that he's doing here. And this Joker has that behavior constantly.
It's like that you have a rapport or that you have a history
Yeah.
of, like, unpredictability, but you could stop and you're sort of like resting on the laurels of your, like, past insanity or something, where you don't even necessarily have to do anything anymore, but everybody knows that you're capable of
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And so anytime you do anything like that, everybody
What's
knows
coming
that
next?
there's
Why-
potential because
It's
you've-
like, why is he being nice? Why is he getting closer to me? What is even, like,
yeah, it's like Joker's using his knowledge of everybody's perception of him
Yeah.
to his advantage.
And
Like,
that's because
he can
I
create
know what
this
you think
sense of
about me, so I can
unease.
manipulate you like that.
yeah.
When a lot of this story is like Johnny learning
Johnny.
amidst
Yes.
a whole bunch of people who already know it,
Yeah.
and him not, like, understanding that anything you think of him being friendly to you or trusting you or giving you power or responsibility means nothing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Penguin says that Dent is upset. Which one is the joke? And warns that he won't take Joker's calls. Later, at the bar, Joker does call and gets no answer. Furious, he smashes the bar with the bat. One of his goons motions that they should probably leave.
Actually breaks a phone with his hand.
That's insane.
Yeah.
The best thing about old phones is that you could fucking like take out your rage after a call. God damn it!
You
fuck!
could probably beat
know.
somebody to death with an old phone.
I'm sure that's been in
Oh, yeah.
movies.
It's probably happened.
Or a phone cord, certainly. Joker pours him a drink and insists that he stays. When the guy comes closer to the bar, Joker smashes the bottle over his head and then grinds the glass into his face.
Gross.
Still rambling about Two-Face the whole time. He then lights a match and burns down the whole bar. Now, this is insane. First of all, I would just want to say, as I was reading this yesterday, I had taken a picture of my cat who, when he's really comfortable in the blankets on the couch, he will bury his head. He'll like twist his fucking head and bury his face in the blankets like an ostrich or something. And so I sent that picture to my wife a while earlier. And the moment she responded, she said, "smashed face boy," or something like that. Was the moment that I was reading that page. And so I sent her a picture of that.
Smash face.
I said, good timing.
Yeah. You called it.
But yeah, man, again, like if the skinning the guy wasn't enough because we didn't really see him do it, here we see the callousness, the complete lack of provocation that it needs, like
As he's grinding the bottle into the guy's face, he's not looking at him.
no, he's
still
he's
like-
off in
Yeah,
his head
yeah.
talking about Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason he probably finds the irony of grinding this guy's face while he's talking about the other guy's face, but like, yeah, man, it's fucked.
This guy's
Also-
cool. I want to dress up as him for Halloween.
And nobody else really seems to be super bothered by that.
Yeah, it's Croc's gang, and they're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Johnny tells the reader that no one understood the Joker that night. No one but me. He tells a story about how, as a child, some bigger kids wanted to throw his pet frog off the roof. He didn't want them to, but saw no alternative, so he did it himself. The Joker, he thinks, was only trying to control what is happening to him. Like everything's spiraling out of control. He's lost his grip on his city, and so he is reestablishing dominance, which is pretty insightful for this fucking idiot.
Yeah, this is mine to destroy.
Yeah, exactly.
Him crying and holding on to Harley is funny.
Yeah, as he continues to narrate here, we see Johnny eavesdropping on Joker, who's on his knees crying while holding a half-dressed Scarface-looking Harley who's got champagne and a cigarette in hand.
Now I just want to see Michelle Pfeiffer, Batman Returns era, as Harley Quinn.
Oh.
Yeah? I'm sure someone could Photoshop Scarface Pfeiffer and make a Harley out of it.
I just want one of these artists to do it for me.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Johnny's breakfast the next day is interrupted by that cop from earlier, and he takes him to a meeting with Two-Face. Dent says that Joker is a disease that this city cannot abide, that one day he'll stand over Johnny's dead body and laugh, because death is nothing but a punchline to him. The implication here is that if Johnny acted against Joker, that he would have a future working for Two-Face. He's trying to get somebody on the inside to take care of this problem for him.
Is that where the character's name comes from?
What do you mean?
Isn't Punchline the name of that character?
Punchline is a very new character.
She's just a Joker character,
Yeah.
so they're going to be like
But
Punchline and Squirting Flower. That's the famous one.
The-
and,
so in Punchline's origin story, she says her name as a punchline, I think, for the first time. And so
Double
that's-
Entendre. That's
what
that
it
new
is.
guy they introduced who's like Joker's
Entendre.
sidekick, fights with a sword. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Two-Face's office is very cool because they don't dwell on it, but it's like
Split down the middle like Tommy Lee Jones.
It is split down the middle. Yeah,
yeah.
half of it is like untiled with a pile of tiles on the floor, so it looks more like they were just.
Didn't notice this. I was joking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like they are in the process of making it or tearing it apart.
Oh.
So you don't look at it as obvious, like, oh, they left this part undone. but half of it is completely run down and ransacked, and then the half he sits on is nice and well manicured.
Funny.
And it's just there's no like obvious shots of it.
That's like here, where you guys get the Goodwill chairs, and I have the $400 Dark Knight
Branded,
Secret Lab chair. Yeah.
Fucking asshole. Stupid
Johnny goes to the roof to clear his head. He stays too long and shows up late. Johnny uses the same line that Croc had used on Joker before, but gets the opposite reaction. He says, "Is that a problem?" He gets a gun to his head, and I imagine Harvey's words are still ringing in his ears right about now.
And in his nuts.
Yeah, that is. I remember
does
that
kick
from
him
the
in the
first
crotch,
time.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the first time reading it. That shot, because it's not just how painful that is, how like demeaning that is.
A grown man kicking you in the balls.
Yeah, to really get out of your head that you matter to this person at all, or you matter in the situation, that like hardly talking back is met with just getting whomped in the nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In front of other people.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm going to cancel the prank video I was going to do after this episode. If that's how you feel.
I'll still kick you in the nuts if you want it.
In what's maybe the strangest aesthetic choice of this story, a Fast and the Furious shirtless Riddler hops out of a neon sports car with tattoos on his stomach and a cane instead of a staff. They exchange quips before handing over a Pulp Fiction style unseen treasure kind of briefcase.
This is an edgelord Riddler, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
He's got a Godsmack tattoo.
You don't get it. The early stuff was really good.
Hey, I mean, I bought that
I'm
first
not-
record.
I'm
No,
not
I bought
saying
the first
anything
two
about
records when
anything.
they came out. I just don't listen to them, past the age of 17. I kept them for a while.
One who's so far away.
Not
You
that one.
feel
I didn't
the
like
snake
that one.
bite into
Into my
Your
veins.
mission is to go into the cemetery and wait until dawn. Red will. You guys never watched Fear on MTV?
The one where Reese Witherspoon gets fingered.
With Marky Mark.
No, that's a good one too, though. Just open the fucking door. Ah!
A long time.
No, it's where they. This is not important. Let's continue.
Okay.
With Joe
Watch
Rogan.
Fear is probably on
With
YouTube.
Joe
No, that's Fear
Rogan.
Factor. No, they would send they would send 5 20-somethings to like an abandoned prison where people were like murdered or prisoners were abused, or like a plantation.
Dude, that's a little
They would
dark.
stay in a house with no windows during the day, and when night came, they'd be like, "You have to go to the room where they hung people, and you need to stay there until we call you again." There'll be radio silence, and then like producers would
bring
probably
my
be in the
sleeping
background,
bag?
like knocking rocks off of things and making noises to scare
Sure.
them. And you got money if you could stay the whole 5 days or something.
Well,
But
hey, I'm broke. I could, I'd do it.
that was the theme song to the show. Is the doom doom doom?
It was?
Doom, doom. I think so. I think.
I'm trying to think of what the fuck. I'm sorry. Some of you guys probably like the tangents at this point, but
I think they're only here for the
I saw
tangents.
the first, whatever the first
Whoops, all
Godsmack video
tangents.
was. Well, the first Godsmack video, it had this like, a friend of mine actually worked for Sully from Godsmack at a studio he owned and said he was a rotten bastard. So,
hope
I
he
don't
doesn't
mind
listen
making
to
fun of
this.
him or misattributing bad songs to him.
With arms wide open.
Yeah. He wrote that too.
Are they still making music?
Fuck if I know.
Creed.
No. Godsmack.
Creed Smack.
Oh,
Creed Smack.
Joker was in good spirits after this exchange with Riddler. Johnny explained that his mood was like the weather. It affects everyone around. Just then, a car pulls up beside them on the road and starts shooting. Johnny veers off the road and flips the car. Joker gets out and returns fire, but he runs out of ammo just as Dent's cop appears, still standing. He draws a gun and says, "I'd say you're under arrest if you were." And then a shot goes off, but the cop is the one who falls. Johnny comes up from behind. He made his decision, even though Dent would be furious. Adding insult to injury, the next day, Dent finds the body in his front yard, hanging upside down from a tree.
with a whatever they call that, Glasgow. What do they call that when they cut open?
Oh, the Cheshire
faces?
smile.
Yeah, Cheshire smile.
I think there's a Glasgow smile. I think that's a term as well.
I thought that was like a headbutt or something, or Glasgow kiss. I don't know. I'm not a tough guy. I don't do
Cleveland
those things.
steamer. Is it one of those?
You trying to get Family Guy canceled again?
Godsmack put out an album this year.
No shit.
No
Best
shit.
work ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the singer and then a bunch of hired people.
Yeah.
Goes 2010, 2014, 2018, 2023.
Wow, still active. Good for them.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of new metal, did you see Aaron Lewis from Stained shot a bunch of deer or something and he spelled out Trump 2024 in their dead bodies and posed with it for an aerial photo?
That's insane.
That's real, and it just happened this month. Yeah.
Yeah, people lack self-awareness to think, even if you're like for hunting, which I'm not necessarily against or whatever, but like to think that like, yeah, splay out the dead bodies in a political endorsement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This'll own the libs.
I still can't even like get past, and I partially appreciate this and partially don't, that they're acknowledging the beauty of the thing by killing the thing.
It is a little like
because they'll be
serial
like,
killery.
it's a beautiful, beautiful beast. Like,
I'm going to shoot it in the face.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
I've never understood that. I had a lyric at one point that said something about I was thinking of my grandfather's house. He was a duck hunter, and he had artwork of ducks all over the house. Like, you're like a hunter with frame paintings of wild geese and deer. You couldn't be less sincere. You know, it's like it just such a weird justification.
It is weird. It's like to hunt animals is a very animal thing to do.
But, you know, Aaron Lewis is just like, well, hey, they say to use every part of the animal, so I just made my sign. I made my political
I
sign.
turned them into letters.
You know, I didn't buy a billboard. This was organically made.
We're gonna eat them all. We got chili,
Homegrown.
nachos.
Anyway.
My daughter's getting married next month. We're gonna use all this meat.
Speaking of which, here's another montage of violence in the story, this time on anyone connected to Harvey in his territory. They finally come face to face, and it's set at a zoo. Joker's playing hardball, so Dent produces a hostage. It's Johnny's ex-wife, Shelley. Joker's surprised that Harvey knew Johnny or that he was even married, but seemed to take it personally that Harvey took it that close to home. Joker removes a glove and slaps Harvey's good side. It only takes a moment before realizing that that wasn't a normal hand. Close-up on Joker's fingers shows they're covered in broken glass or razors or something nasty, scarring Harvey's good side in the process.
No, it's actually he slashes his wrist.
Yeah,
Oh, really? I thought he went right for his... Did he deflect?
No, because he's like threatening to call, like with the phone.
Oh, right.
And
so his hands up.
So his hands up holding the phone, and Joker
man.
slashes his
I
wrist.
thought it was such a better move of his fucking, like, getting his good side.
No, it's like worse than that because you along with Harvey. There's a moment of like what has happened, and you see his slashed wrist, but it's not until the next page
Got it.
that you get like the full weight of what happened. There's a panel in the setup for this scene where Joker's talking to Harvey on the phone that I just really, really like because it's, you know, a normal panel, and then about halfway there's a panel that runs the width of the page, but then the bottom of the page is just the continuation of that picture.
Yeah, that's
so it's
weird.
broken up by the letterbox. I don't know, just a neat choice.
It's like just drawing your focus.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. When Harvey's guys draw their weapons, a gorilla guns them down from the adjacent cage here at the zoo. Now, unmasked, we see it was Harley in a monkey suit.
with a Tommy gun.
Great plan, setting up, you know, I choose the venue, having a fucking surprise like that, an ace up the sleeve. Joker puts Shelley in a car, tells Croc to take her wherever she needs to go and to give her some money. He leans to Johnny and says, I guess this makes us even.
Maybe this is like
You know, I'm starting to feel for the Joker now, right?
everyone has
He's a
limits.
good guy,
Yeah.
right?
He needs love.
Smart, capable.
Deep down.
What is he blackmailing Harvey with?
What are you talking about?
Well, the whole thing he had in the briefcase was when he says like, yeah, "You had a wife." No, not you. You. And he's like, who is Harvey going to call on the phone to do anything to? This is lost on me.
Let me go back here because I thought the whole point was that he's trying to take back his shit. Harvey turned him down, and so he's going out there and killing all of Harvey's guys.
But then they have a
And-
meeting, and the thing he got from the Riddler, it sounds like, is what he's using to try and
Right.
blackmail him.
Yeah,
Because he
what-
says like,
What is in that case?
says, "You didn't tell me you were married." Talking to Johnny Storm.
Frost.
and,
Storm.
and it
Johnny Blaze.
But neither did you,
Method
Harvey.
Man is in this, actually.
Neither did you, Harvey. And Harvey, the good side, is like, I've been married for years. And then Joker says, no, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to you, to the other side. And then he's like, I was talking to you. There's a lot of things people in our position can get away with. Murder being one. Wives ain't two of them.
Yeah.
Bigamy is like tax evasion. So it's like, I don't think he's literally talking about a wife. But I don't know what he's threatening him with. And what is Harvey saying? Harvey's like, I'm going to call on the phone, and whatever you have against me, I can make it all disappear in one phone call. And that's what kicks off the whole violence.
Yeah, because Joker's like, I don't need to explain myself further to you, too, do I? And in my head, I'm like, yeah,
Yes,
you do.
please. Two-Face is like, no, you don't have to.
Two-Face seems
I
to
know.
get it. Yeah.
Which is fine, because I don't mind not knowing, but I didn't know if you guys knew.
Well, yeah, you're right, because he hands him the briefcase, and Dent says, and what the hell is that? And Joker ignores him. He had started saying, I mean to have what's mine. And in between that, Dent goes, what the hell is that? And he said, I'm asking for it. And then they get back into that, like, goddamn right.
The double entendres. But, and I mean, it works if we're, again, if we have the perspective of Johnny Frost, of like, that's what he's taking from the situation too. He has no idea what's going on. So that works. I just didn't know if we're supposed to know at any point.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reveal there. I think it's more so derailed by the fact that Shelley is brought into the situation. And it seems like Joker is genuinely like, oh, fuck that. You're going to play low? Okay, I'll play low. Fucking goes to disfigure him or slash him or whatever.
No, he tells him, I have this thing that I'm going to use against you. And then that leads to the slashing. What is the thing he was using against him? If anyone's listening to this, please respond to the Bat Fan Addict podcast. What did Mr. Mayo's Joker have?
I don't know what you're talking about, because I'm reading this dialogue again that you were quoting. He's saying there's a lot of things we can get away with, saying like wives.
You can't have two wives. Is he talking about, like, is Harvey working with the police and as a criminal? Is he a federal informant? What is Joker threatening to reveal that Harvey's like, doesn't matter what you say, I can make one phone call and I will make all of that go away?
I'm not taking that at all. I'm taking this as, I mean, I'm a very literal person, but he just produced this guy's wife as a hostage, and he's like, look, we can fucking go. I think this is like mob people saying, like, you don't bring a non-combatant, you don't bring a fucking bystander into our shit.
No, because what's the phone call for? He's saying Joker is threatening him with something, and he's saying, I can make a phone call right now to make all of that go away. And then he swipes the phone, but actually slashes his hand instead.
I don't even get the whole bigamy is like tax evasion
Having two wives, because he keeps talking about wives and two wives.
Yeah, once a prosecutor has a crime he can try in the public eye. I just don't even know what that means.
Well, that's like whatever it is, he could reveal to other people, so even if it's not proved, it will ruin Two-Face.
Oh.
This is just confusing. And again, I don't mind, because I think we're supposed to be with, like, Johnny Frost.
Yeah.
And not be totally...
I don't have all the info.
Yeah, we're supposed to be confused and out of our depth, but I just didn't know if you guys knew.
I don't know that I really highlighted them, but I recall reading this and there being a couple times where I just didn't understand, like, the jump in the scene or the jump in the dialogue. It's just something about it didn't make sense to me, and this was one of them.
Yeah, I guess I was more focused on the escalation of the tension here and not on that, because, he's holding the phone. Two-Face is saying that Harvey's happiness compromised our best interests.
Like if he
so
had a
I
wife
made sure
or
that it
something.
couldn't. I have a man on speed dial that will make everything in that case disappear. So you're right. There is some kind of blackmail,
what's
I guess.
in the case?
I don't know. And
This has been
I don't think
a
we ever
20-minute
find out.
side thing, but I just, like, that bothered me in the scene. I was like, what is that?
yeah, honestly, for all the times I've read this, it never occurred to me, because the face-to-face panels of them and then the fucking shocking violence and all this shit, it's just like I'm cruising through this at a quick pace by this point, going like, oh my God,
What next?
Joker then murders a liquor store clerk and tells Johnny to take anything he wants. He says, you're with me now. Johnny feels pride in that statement, but it quickly fades when Joker leads them to a stranger's apartment and kills an elderly couple in bed for no reason. Lying in the carnage, Joker and Johnny, they talk, and Johnny slips up and then apologizes. Joker says that he hates apologies more than anything else. Johnny tells the reader this brief confession from a man who never confesses, it killed me. So I actually thought our narrator was killed off screen
In this moment.
until, you catch up to it a little bit. He was talking about like this sealed my fate, less literally. Cut to Two-Face at the bat signal. He's begging Batman for help. We see a brief vignette of him crash through Harley's window, and then as Joker pulls up outside, he sees that broken window and gets back in the car. They go to Croc's hideout, and Batman has been there too. Everyone is tied up and knocked out. Joker lights his liquor bottle and throws it in the street like a Molotov cocktail. He does his best Jennifer Love Hewitt in I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
When Batman finds Harvey on the roof, though, again, it's back to that other thing where he says, Harvey is saying that the Joker found a way to murder one of us. And Batman's like,
Yes, he does.
Us? And he's like, no, I mean one of us, like one of the Two-Faces. Again, going back to like whatever he was blackmailing with.
Yeah, that's true. It's very strange now that they introduced a subplot like that and don't really.
I love this split with his face and how the normal half is like looking down and then the disfigured part is like looking at you, but the expression is awesome.
It's like a lazy eye. You never know which side to look at.
Yeah.
Johnny laughs as they run away from the fire. Joker slaps him for laughing, takes him as a hostage and a human shield. Batman descends and Joker taunts him for being such a tryhard. With all that black, the suit, and the dark persona, he asks then why, under all that mystique, does Batman leave part of his face exposed, that chiseled, handsome physique? Batman says, to mock you. Then Joker flips out, shoots Johnny in the back of the head, and they fight it out while our narrator collapses and closes the story. He says, now everyone knows his name, and that Joker is a disease for which there is no cure, only a Batman. The last panel is a distant view of that bridge with a faint outline of Joker's body falling into the water below. And in 2008, you could really just sort of wonder, it could be a Killing Joke ending where you see a body falling, you don't know conclusively that it's Joker.
Fell in the water, nothing we can do.
But with the release of Batman Damned, it is the Joker's body.
I didn't even notice that until you just said that. Made it seem like maybe it was Johnny, like he's pulling himself up
Right.
to the railing and, bailed over the edge.
Any Easter eggs? It's not really a referential kind of story.
Yeah, the blade he used to kill that elderly couple was Fingerbrand, Bill Fingerbrand.
Cool. Are you making that up?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Because you're right, it's not one of those kind of, look at
Yeah.
the Easter eggs.
It's that one part where he sets down the newspaper and says, where do they get a load of me? Pros?
Fantastic tone that's consistent all the way through. This is a gross, disgusting Gotham and world and people. The way the city is illustrated, it looks like it's in Brazil or the Philippines or something. It's
like
super dense.
7 to me.
Yeah, very dense, very
yeah.
built up, very modern, but just like dilapidated and gross and run down.
Yeah.
Every slice of life we see in this city through this book reflects that.
Yeah. Everything is terrible. There's no Noel where they're reminding you there's good.
That's
in
not this
Gotham.
book.
Like, no, there's nothing redeemable here.
I guess it could go two ways because I think that his art style could work good regardless with the whole painted color style. You could show
A level of grime.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, this brick wall has layers of stains or something like that. But also the solid black really highlights the shadows and stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of his just extra little hatching detail lines really go to like make the city look,
Worn.
yeah, just like kind of worn, scarred, kind of textural. I think that he does a really good job with the backgrounds and stuff because the whole thing feels gritty.
I'll also credit, I think Mick Gray was his name. In the intro, it lays out Lee Bermejo inks on pages 1, 7, 5, 4. Like it's bizarre the way that it's laid out. And At no point am I ever like, oh, this page is the other guy. You know, like I
Yeah.
think it's still, even though there are little variations, they'll be like within the page. You know, so I think it is very well done. For like, I don't know why they chose to do that. It's not like it's a monthly; it's a standalone. You know, but like
Sure.
it turned out great. My pros. Tell Ben's plot hole. This is going to sound stupid, but the simplicity of the
Why
story.
don't you talk to me before you say anything ever again?
The simplicity of the story. I like that it's just a very ground level thing. The premise is he gets out, and this guy is the first guy he sees, right? And so all you're doing is following what happens between the two of them, right? And this guy's sort of collateral, but you know he's our window to that world. And yeah, like you guys mentioned, I just kind of love the whole gritty vibe. And as I said earlier, I don't think I had seen anything like this at all. Nothing remotely like this style at the time. And while the inks and colors are definitely more simple than his work today on Damned or on all those covers, you know, it still holds up against modern artwork as like a really cool chapter in Lee Bermejo's evolution, you know.
And showcases his skills. Not everybody could pull off multiple versions of their own art style.
I actually recently came across, there's an art dealer who still has pages from this for sale. I was like, oh man, that's crazy.
Damn.
I'm not like an art page collector or anything, but I definitely looked at the scans of them. Like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, man.
Just the pencils.
Yeah.
Another positive I would say, and I've
had enough of your positivity, okay? You are constantly just gassing us up.
Life is hard, and anytime anyone accomplishes anything, it should be celebrated. It
I'm
shouldn't
hard.
be torn down.
Let's celebrate that.
I celebrate your hardness now.
Thank you.
I celebrate.
That's why my legs are crossed like this. Has nothing to do with my bladder again being full.
Friction. This is a pretty good Batman story, despite not being a Batman story at all. Especially when you pointed out
He
those,
gets 3 pages.
well, and those little elements earlier on, like the whole bar scene, which again was lost on me.
The restaurant thing.
Yeah, I'm not so dense that I didn't understand he was talking about Batman before that.
Sure.
But I didn't grasp how much of what happened there was just
To goad
Batman
him.
on,
Yeah.
or to see if he was even there. That was lost to me a little bit. So that combined with his final appearance, about he's just like a force that is now unleashed.
Yeah.
The way they even depict him like jumping off of the bridge girder down to
Yeah.
the ground, like he just is like a blur of black sliding across the page. It's
Yeah.
really cool. In the way we got to see Joker from an outsider's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
we get the same thing with Batman, and in a way that's appropriate for him because he's real people are like, oh, he's just a myth. He's not real. So it has that feel.
Well, and you mentioned the Dark Knight. There actually is a scene, I think it's early in the film, where a guy's doing a drug deal in a car, and one guy's on foot outside the window, and
You got more chance of winning the Powerball than running into him.
because they got the signal in the sky or whatever. That's a little bit like the he's out there and he's watching, you know. Cons.
Well, what I complained about, which is a feature of the storytelling, because 100 Bullets, which I really loved and read when I was much younger and dumber.
I haven't read that.
That's fantastic. It's epic. Really,
I know
really cool.
it from the cover of this book.
It's awesome. It's
From
really, really good.
the writer of 100 Bullets.
Yeah.
Well, and it has a lot of that kind of stuff in it where you as the reader are like, what are you talking about? What's going on? You're not privy to information the characters are, past mysteries, past relationships. And I've been reading Jonathan Hickman's Marvel stuff, and his writing is a lot like that too, where things are talked about and you kind of just have to piece together from context what is going on.
I had a hard time with the sequel to this, with Damned. The artwork is beautiful, and then the story, like I was saying to Evan, like you go from this street level human crime story to Zatanna and Enchantress and Constantine and all this fucking weird shit, and I'm like, how the fuck are these things connected? You know, and then I read like his Azzarello's Birds of Prey and his Broken City, and it's like, I don't think I've read another example of his writing that's as focused as this, because there's really only that one little thing that deviates in this whole thing, you know.
Well, he's a crime story writer. That's his thing, and that's that is a strength of it, to have that kind of way of looking at it, because that's what keeps it interesting and exciting. And what's going on? What does that mean? All that kind of stuff. But it was just a little too much in those points where I was derailed by the curiosity and wondering if I'm supposed to be understanding this or that kind of thing.
You're Billy Madison. God, just give me the answer.
And then my other con is just a fundamental thing, which is more of an issue the first time I read it, but still here with this one. And I was thinking about, like, you could tell any story about anyone or thing, and if you do it well, it can be engaging and interesting.
As we proved on our last episode, yes.
Yeah. But we have limited time in our life. And so...
Oh, come on. I picked a short book. It wouldn't take that long.
This is excellent. This is really good. But it's like... And I mean, I watch movies about criminals and serial killers and crime and stuff like that because they're interesting and they're more exciting than our lives that thankfully are not full of criminals and crime and serial killers. But still, to just be so mired in such a garbage person, such a shitty person from front to back, that's a con for me. And that's just a...
I didn't want to live in this Gotham. I'd never vacation there.
That's like bad criticism, judging a work not on its execution, but what it's about. Mm. But it sort of feels that way for me. I'm just like, I don't know, this is depressing.
I opened the book and am kind of flying through it, and I'm like, oh shit, I got to stop and take my notes. I got to back up, like, because it's just moving in the beginning, and I'm loving the artwork. And again, it's been so long since I've actually read it. It was like really fun. I was like, man, I'm gonna get through this in 20 minutes. 3 hours later.
Are you just like, because you're so in depth with, like,
I write down beat by beat the fucking plot points, and then because I'm on my phone, I'll get a notification, then I'll fucking wind up on Instagram or some shit. I'm like, oh, God damn it, put it back, And so I'm doing this fucking over and over again. But like, I just remember the feeling of when I started it of like, I want to just devour this because it's so engrossing in this world. Like you're just, and maybe that's one of the things you didn't like is like, you're just in it.
No, and
there's no relief.
It bothered me less the second time. For some reason, my takeaway in the first one
now
was
that you've seen someone get a bottle ground into their face, and you're like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought.
No, yeah, it's the first time I read it for whatever reason, my takeaway was like I felt worse for Johnny Frost.
Johnny.
And then this time, I just felt much more like, oh, I don't like him either. So it doesn't bother. It bothered me the first time. Like,
I feel sorry for Batman.
Or the city of
Gotham. This is the world you have to deal with.
That, like, our character, our window into the world, the story ends with him getting shot through the back of the neck. Like,
yeah.
And that bothered me more the first time. This time it didn't as much because I'm like, well, you suck. You were a bad person anyway, and you fell in with an even worse person, and your own arrogance and ambition blinded you to what was going on. But that was my other actual big con. Just that the ending, like, idea is very interesting. With he's saying that, like, the Joker is the disease, but it's not really the Joker. It's just, like, the chaos of humans or humanity or something. But that chaos is also why we exist in civilization because of all that. That's interesting. I don't know how much that has to do with the story we just read.
Well, what's great is that there's, like, one text box that both says, I was right. I finally became somebody, and you guys know my name. And then I'm like, well, this guy really does suck, like, and then talks about the disease metaphor, just like the beginning, the news spread like a disease and whatever. And Harvey says he's a disease that's incurable and all this. And so that's kind of a thing that's running through it. But there's this contrast in this guy, even as he's dying, he's not self-aware enough to realize what he's done to himself, I don't think. He's like both realized his goal and then grossly misjudged this person that
and his
idolized.
Role in it.
Yeah, and their relationship. It's not like, oh, I learned that lesson too late necessarily. It's like, I'm not sure if you learned anything necessarily.
Well, and for the big dramatic takeaway to be, as I read it, like, Joker is not the problem. He is just a symptom of the problem. The problem is chaos and ambition and human whatever greed.
Oh,
and
no, I didn't take it as that
brand
of a
No,
message.
But I think that is what it's saying, because then he's like, and there's no cure for this disease. There's just Batman. There's just another thing that beats it back, but that doesn't actually cure it or solve any of it.
I mean, I'm thinking in terms of character, and so it's that age-old question of like, well, there's only Batman, and he's just going to beat him up and lock him up again, and he's going to get on and it's going to start over. And so to me, that's the whole, like, and there's no cure if there's only a Batman. Like, he's a Band-Aid on this.
No, I think it's bigger than that,
breaking
because
dam.
The line that makes me think that is when he says, something about like that's the same disease that built our cities in the first place. That doesn't have anything to do with Joker. That's saying something to like whatever his
he does
chaos
say
and
something
that
about it existed before.
Also is why we are as we are, like maybe useful in some sense or something like that. But it gets lost on me. It's like,
Can you say something funny? Because this is just okay. Well, what's in the suitcase? Because and then we're rereading the pages, and then no, technically there's that other line at the end. I'm like, I'm just fucking. Have I fallen asleep? Have you? Is anyone? Listeners at home, are you still with us?
So did you hear about this one? Did you hear about this one this week? Guys, stop me if you've heard this one.
Oh my God. When I was editing the Lonely City episode, I had paused it and done something else and come back, and I pushed play on the next section, and I said, at home, Selena goes blah, blah, blah. And I was like, there was that other episode, whatever it was, where I kept trying to start and you guys kept joking, and over I was like, at home, and you would cut me off, and then we would repeat at home, at home, at home. And then I was like, we did it on like the next episode, and no one made a fucking joke. I'm like, yeah, totally missed it. But anyway, cons for Evan.
I don't think I read the right material.
He read The Doom from Gotham.
That was a nice 1-2 pairing.
Yeah.
You read James Tynan's Joker.
Yeah. I read the cartoon and exactly.
You watched the Joaquin Phoenix film.
Yeah.
Joker.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a big surprise for you. What our 70th episode is going to be.
What?
Batman 69.
Yeah. The full review.
We're going to watch the non-edited version this time.
Of the porn?
Yeah.
Yes. No.
Yes, no, make up your mind. My mother, my sister. Have you ever seen Chinatown?
Once.
That was a Chinatown
I've seen
reference.
Big Trouble.
In Little Chinatown.
The one with Jack Nicholson. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Go on. You were saying something.
Criticize this pinnacle work of creative achievement.
I don't think that I have any. This isn't my favorite type of story. And kind of like Ben saying, I don't really just like focusing on the gore.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I like horror movies and I don't know. But a lot of this stuff like seems super personal or like extra grotesque that's probably the point. It's not just normal violence. It's skinning a man and putting glass in your own fingers. And
Well, yeah, and I think it's coming off the heels of The Dark Knight where it's like, oh my God, this guy is fucked up, but he's brilliant and he's like, his performance is so engaging and all this stuff. And then you see this, you're like, oh, cool. Like, it looks kind of like the same thing. And you're like, oh, yeah, this guy does suck, though, doesn't he? You're right.
Really bad.
Thanks for the reminder.
I mean, we glossed over it, but he rescues his wife and then fucks her.
Yeah.
And then acts like the whole thing was saving her. And he's like, now we're even for you saving my life now that I saved your wife and had sex with her.
Wait, you saying that Joker fucked Shelley?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, after they
dude.
save her. It's like you just see them finishing up and she's like cowering in the back of the car. And then
he's like buttoning his pants.
and he goes to Johnny. He's like, okay, there you go. We're even.
Wait. No way.
Yeah,
Yes.
dog. Right here.
Oh, my God.
Drive her wherever. Give her some money.
How much? He's
Wait,
like,
so he
Yeah,
saved
how
her
much?
only to rape her in the back seat of this car?
Yeah.
Oh
and then he
my
says we're
God.
even, like unironically, like
Wait
you saved my life, I saved your
You
wife.
guys
we're
just let
even.
me fucking explain that scene like it was like, and then he saved her, and then he said, okay,
Yeah, he
Johnny,
saved
well,
her.
then we're even,
Sometimes
right?
I feel like we can't chew it too much because if someone hasn't read the thing we read, I
Yeah,
want
but I
some things to be.
fucking, because she's all like beat up like she's fucking, or she's traumatized like she was just kidnapped and held at gunpoint
No,
by
it's-
Two-Face. So I'm like, yeah, of course she would look like this. I'm not looking at him fucking buttoning his pants that are fully open. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, she's terrified because of the
and
clown cock.
then give her some money. That's even worse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and and
whatever
says-
it was worth.
Yes, exactly.
I don't
he's
know.
And
a
Johnny looks so
irredeemable
fucking traumatized.
garbage.
And he stays with him.
Yeah.
He stays with
Yeah.
him. Jesus fuck.
And I was thinking, I mean, this is the
I
era.
need to start over and read it again.
This is the era.
Let's delete this and redo the episode. Oh my
kicked off by
God.
that they always talk about, kicked off by Sopranos, of like where the characters in popular fiction are not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Breaking Bad's the other big one, but there's tons of them.
Sure.
So, and this is like right the beginning
But
wave
this
of
is
that.
not what this is not is The Wire, where you show the humanity in the villains and you show the conflict or the corruption in the heroes, and it's just a real human story all around. This is not that. This is
sort of that, but Johnny is that. Joker is just like an inhuman monster.
Yeah, but we never really get. Again, even after that, he still stays
that's
with the
what I'm
dude.
saying. I don't feel for him because like what that whole scene.
Because I thought
feel
the
like
elderly couple was the
Yeah,
worst.
it's the rape and
that
then
is-
the
of
him
elderly
staying,
couple.
but this is
that is worse, but that's really bad, especially what it shows about the character we're experiencing the world through.
Fuck.
And I don't think I picked up on that the first time I read this. This time I noticed.
I
was
already
like,
thought this was like the most brutal, gnarly shit, but that takes it to.
Well, that's what I mean. It's expertly rendered. It's
Fuck.
just miserable.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck.
It's hard to like.
I'm gonna dress him as this guy for all.
Yeah, exactly. You feel wrong for liking it, and I don't think that you can have like a positive
1 star. I'm out.
Yeah,
Fuck.
you can't have like a positive takeaway.
Jesus. Well, it's.
Well, did you have
this
fun
is
reading
like-
it?
I don't know. Killing the elderly couple. That was unambiguous, and that was as bad as anything.
This is
So, I
like
mean,
earlier.
Yeah, I mean that was my favorite part.
It's like earlier. I was like, I mean, I know he's a piece of shit, but the Confederate flag, come on, let's have some standards. But now it's like, God, yeah. I mean, I've seen him do all these
the
horrible
disrespect.
things,
You know,
but I didn't
the
realize
disrespect was the worst.
doing
thing.
your Norm Macdonald.
You know what hurts the most is the lack of respect. You know? That's what hurts the most. Except for the other thing. That hurts the most. But the lack of respect hurts the second most.
Okay, my cons. The subtle rape scene. No,
That's not any worse than anything else. that
sorry for
happens.
yelling
It's
rape.
just-
If anyone's listening to this at work or something, I apologize. But
I only mean to point that out because it's like
oh, it's essential.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Like I said, I haven't read this
Really
in a
informs
long
the
time.
character.
yeah.
Actually, now that I think of this, yeah, I want to say my initial reaction to this book was that the only thing I thought was weird was Joker having a sexual appetite. Is that I thought that was strange because he's portrayed as inhuman. He's not, he wouldn't have normal kind of needs or whatever. And so, yeah, that did occur to me way, way, way long ago, but I couldn't put it in my head right now that that he fucking raped Shelley.
But again, that's also just another like our culture kind of thing. Because again, murdering the old people was probably worse than that, but that didn't get the response. But also,
it got the response.
I know,
That's
but
fucking foul.
Maybe it's because it wasn't a discovery in this podcast.
Yeah, that was a part. We saw it. We knew it happened,
Yeah.
and it was horrible. And
But-
it was more so like, and here they're having a conversation in it. Gross.
Comic book, like mainstream comic book villains and stories, especially if we're talking about the movies, which is a lot of
Tend
it
not
now.
to be rapists.
Yeah, violence is fair
Sexual
game.
crimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's just, anyway.
Yeah, I think if you're depraved, you're
close to home.
depraved, probably.
Yeah.
So my cons, I just wrote occasional weird dialogue here and there. I think Ben's example of the fucking suitcase exchange, all that shit, perfect. And the Riddler design, Jesus Christ, that is just...
That's worse than
That's an
the
abomination.
first one, Riddler with the sideburns and the...
Yeah, it's
Also no shirt and a jacket.
up there with
Yeah.
All-Star Joker, I think. It's just... Ugh. I don't like it at all. That said, it is time for the rating. Ev. We'll come back to Ev. Ben.
This is another one of my famous split ratings. 3.5. If I'm just judging the work on the quality of execution, it's like a 4.5 or a 5. But for all those things, like my issues with it, it's like 3.5.
You're like, but it's just unpleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's my inclination was also like 3 or 3.5.
Okay.
So same reasons, like
I can imagine if I got this in 2008 and read it, I'd be like, that was fucking amazing.
Right.
I've never read a comic story, except I was reading like Supreme Power and all the Marvel Max stuff, which is also super fucked up.
Right.
but now that I'm older and life has softened to me and
Happier stories.
yeah, exactly. Now I'm on a Powerpuff Girl trajectory.
So we got a double 3.5 there. Yeah, I am a 4.5 on it. I have very little nitpicky stuff, and overall, it's the kind of thing that normally would just like kind of burn through because it's so captivating and like
It's
the way
paced
that
really
it
well.
keeps escalating and Yeah, it's just very interesting. Very
All
well
the
done.
murder gets your motor going.
Oh, yeah.
That's hard to. All the murder gets your murder going.
Yeah. Motorboat the murder.
Motoring. What's your right to ride, Sister Christian? The only one.
How many songs was that?
I'm hot
That's
for
one song,
teacher.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only knew the first line again.
Because it starts out, Sister Christian. It's like very mellow, and then the chorus is motoring.
Got it.
Yeah. You never seen the infomercial for the 80s hair metal compilation?
Now, 75.
Glam rock hits.
All right, that is our show. Thank you guys so much for listening as always. And stay tuned on the next episode. As we near the end of season 3, there is a big announcement on the next show. Okay, 2 episodes left. Countdown begins right now. As I mentioned before, I did commission Lee Bermejo, perhaps my favorite artist of all time, for an original Joker sketch. So if you're not already, follow us on Instagram at Bat Fan Addict. You could see all the new sketches I've been getting. It's been fucking crazy lately. I'm so excited, and there's more on the way. Now, I want to follow this episode on Joker with, well, you guessed it, and I did mention it earlier. So stay tuned for more dark and gritty Todd Phillips Joker.